Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our Calypso show is about to start, but before starting, we want to thank you sincerely for being here with us this evening. Now, the first singer on the program happens to be the ever popular Prowler. How about bringing on this singer with a hand?
Transporting some men from San Fernando on that 515 train, Prowler's book to book. Train transporting some men from San Fernando.
I am a son of the Caribbean. I am at home with Calypso, reggae, and Cadas. And I invite you to join me in a journey into Caribbeana, history in sound.
Aye, 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 Calypso. Aye, 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 Calypso. Aye, 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 Calypso. They like to sing me Calypso.
Calypso come from Trinidad, where the music really make you glad. Young and old will tap their feet when they hear the scintillating beat. Nowadays it's popular in Great Britain and America, but I think you ought to know it started in Trinidad many moons ago.
This is reggae music. Welcome to the sound. You need to look no further. The universe is found. Reggae music. Look at my baby, got happy girl. Look at you way, look at the girl. I'm missing show, I'm missing you. Missing a look at that lips. Say no me la je tu le vite senti. Dominique Guadeloupe, Haïti. Tout le monde a retrouvé un sound jambolo. That's every
I don't know whether or not you remember where you were or what you were doing in 1956, but I definitely do. It's probably so clear to me because that was the big year. I celebrated my 16th birthday in Princestown, South Trinidad, and my great-grandma Tambi celebrated her 86th. We did it up in grand style since both of us were born in February and since our birthdays fell on the first day of Carnival. Come on, let's go back in time so that I can show you exactly what it was like in the Caribbean then. Besides the fact that 1956 marked the date of my graduation from adolescence, that year was important for another reason. My native land had also reached a turning point.
Well, the girls in town feeling bad. No more Yankees in Trinidad. They're gonna close down the base for good. Them girls have to make out how they could. Brothers now they pack up in tongue. In for a penny and in for a pound. Believe me, it's competition for so. Trouble in the tongue when the price drop low. So when you bounce up, Gina and Dinah, Rosita and Clementina, on the corner posing that your life is something they selling. And if you catch them broke, you can get them all for nothing. Don't make a row. The Yankees gone, Sparrow take over now.
Yes, in politics and culture, it was a new day. The People's National Movement under the popular leadership of Dr. Eric Williams came to power, and at the same time came a man who literally revolutionized Calypso in Trinidad and who has dominated it ever since. The mighty Sparrow.
Paris to hear them cry, not a sailor in town, the nightclubs dry. Only West Indians like me or you go in to get a drink or two. And a as we have things back in control. I seeking revenge with my heart and soul. Brother, when I spread the news around, it's to see how them cavemen come in the tongue, just to meet Miss Gina and Dinah, Rosita and Clementina. Round the corner posing, bet your life is something they selling. And when you catch them broken, you can get them all for nothing. Don't make a row. Well, the Yankees on Sparrow, they go now.
I think it was coincidental that Eric Williams and Sparrow came at the same time. 56. No, Sparrow came in 54, you know, but he made his mark in 56. So we have to take him from 56 when he won the crown with Gina and Dinah. I think these things happen once every 200 years or every 100 years. Two great men appear on the scene. One in politics and one in Calypso.
Songwriter Rocky McCollin is right. Two great men emerged on the scene, and songs like Sparrow's classic Gina and Dinah, which won him the title of Calypso Monarch and Road March King of 1956, helped create a new public expectation for both a fine lyric and a good melody. Prior to this time, these two were not necessarily always found together.
I went to Berlin on a donkey. One of Hitler boy tried to stop me. I went to Berlin on a donkey. One of Hitler boy tried to stop me. I gave him the atung as you wish. He say, what you sailing? I say, codfish. He say, today is Bacchanal. Hitler in the town playing carnival, boy. Because of your business in 40 minutes. Atung say, ma, in 40 minutes. Archie Bell broken diminish. For Hitler say to send back the codfish.
I remember as if it were only yesterday. My friends and I used to look for the new rhythms, but Great-Grandma Tambi taught us to concentrate on the lyrics every time a new song came out. She used to always say, you never can tell what you might learn, since the words were either humorous or full of some new slant to an old story. Every Calypsonian seemed to want to outdo the other, with clever language that was generally promoting Trinidad and Tobago's self-government or hitting at the lingering presence of American military. Both the Calypsonians and the new government, in the person of Eric Williams, seemed to have the same goals, and for a while they spoke with the same mind.
I'm telling Uncle Sam, get out and go give me back me land. Uncle Sam, get out and go give me back me land. We got federation. Islands unite as one. During the war you come into place and you throw up your naval base. This is my land and my forefathers' land, and my children to come land. This is my place, every West Indian place, regardless of class, color, creed or race. Listen, Uncle Sam, we want back we land. Soon we will be a great nation. We are going to be prosperous, so we want back Shagaramas. Really true, my land was leased to you, but oh, what a bacchanal. Document was signed, it wasn't legal. Dr. Williams raised up some facts. Shagaramas with him and back. Don't mind all this cool dog by Sukaram. Let him throw the basin car on his farm. This is my land and my forefathers, and the children to come land. This is my place, every West Indian place, regardless of class, color, creed or race. Listen, Uncle Sam, we want back we land. Soon we will be a great nation. We are going to be prosperous, so we want back Shagaramas.
But let's back up for a minute and review why we in Trinidad often refer to a pre-Sparrow era. What was different about Calypso before the mighty Sparrow made his debut? And how did he actually set new precedents for the music? Radio producer Godwin Oyewole explains.
Before Sparrow made it big, there was a kind of a formula to Calypso. There were only 12 bars, it seems, and any Calypsonian can just take any of those 12 bars and make any kind of permutation and combination, and bingo, you got a Calypso. But when Sparrow came, he kind of expanded beyond those 12 bars. If you look at his style in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, you may compare him with the kind of thing that Curtis Mayfield does with soul music, where you do not just fit your mentality into the music as it was done by other people, but you know what you want to say, you know the message, and you compose the music to fit that. And that's what Sparrow did with Calypso.
Murder, murder everywhere, these people must have a care. Murder, murder everywhere, I wish these people would have a care. This time it's really out of place. Over 1,000 miles in space, they poison the food for the puppy. Good Lord, this is more than cruelty. Although they're trying their best, you know they're making a mess with the Russian satellite. They should be all sent to prison for the dog that they poisoned in the Russian satellite. True Sputnik in disguise, I had everybody hypnotized. Now I am very sorry for the poor little puppy in the Russian satellite.
One other thing that Sparrow added to Calypso was to internationalize the lyrics and the context of Calypso. I think he made a very big one when he did the Russian satellite, when the Russians sent the dog to the moon. And, well, again, you know, it was something you read in the papers, and so what? But Sparrow, in a kind of a compassion for the dog, made sense of what they did.
They have speed and power, 18,000 miles an hour. The invention is out in this world, and the Russians have the secret under control. But they should have some sympathy. It's better that they come to ask for me. If a sparrow too small, they shouldn't talk. Take a chicken hawk, yes. They're trying their best, but they're making a mess with the Russian satellite. They should be all sent to prison for the dog that they poisoned in the Russian satellite. Two Sputnik in disguise had everybody hypnotized. Now I am very sorry for the poor little puppy in the Russian satellite.
It was this same compassion which Sparrow showed for the dog in Russian satellite that he and his contemporaries demonstrated in other songs. The mighty striker sang Don't Blame the PNM, a defense of the ruling political party, and of course there were many others. The result, more and more of my countrymen flocked to Calypso tents and carnival. Prior to this time, the carnival audiences had been made up by a significant number of non-blacks. But with this new thrust came new faces, most of them black. And I want you to know, my great-grandmother, who had followed Calypso since the early days, was quite pleased.
Next year is federation. There'll be no discrimination between the Trinidadian and the Grenadian.
Well, it have a Grenadian living next to me. If you know how them native does torture she. It have a Grenadian living next to me. If you know how them native does torture she. Every time they're in for a confusion, they don't call small island, go back to your land. But the Grenadians sit down and she draft a plan to stop them from all this tormentation. Every time they shout, Smally, find your land, she don't jump up with the slab like a mad woman. And all she bawling,
Grenadian change your plan. Next year is federation. There'll be no discrimination between the Trinidadian and the Grenadian.
The Trinidadian turned to the...
With this new trend came another breakthrough. For the first time, a Calypsonian would have economic independence. The groundwork was laid for West Indian artists who sang their music and lived off to what they earned from doing that. Again, Godwin Oyewole.
Sparrow was the first Calypsonian to make a decent and indeed a very, very comfortable living just singing Calypso. And I expect him, and I'm very happy that he broke out of that pure and poor mentality.
That's what really pays, Sparrow selling guns nowadays. That's what really pays. Nearly every young man is a gunslinger with a razor and a steel knocking on the finger. Don't mind the dressing suit and bow tie. All of them looking for gun to buy. The talk is we young and strong. We ain't afraid of soul and gun. Good in the bad, to me them we more than that. We gun, and bad and we are making fun. If you smile, clear the way, or if you think about, make you play.
get up in the morning and I watch the sky, sometime I just wonder why. When I get up in the morning and I watch the sky, sometime I just wonder why. If it's my planet to sign man destination or to put Calypsonian to meet their destruction, it is sorrow and affliction with the rising generation of the Syrie land. When I was a boy at the age of 5 and my nice old grandfather, he was alive. He said, Tiger, come to me. He said, sit down upon my knees. He said, boy, I will read your boat, and your boat is to rule over man and earth. So I'm sorry for the molester who invited you to the tiger. Just imagine me.
Yes, anything you can imagine was subject to pop up in somebody's calypso. Political corruption, sex, a local misdemeanor. Once, even a song was made about the marriage of the people's man, Dr. Eric Williams, by the Growling Tiger, who received so much criticism for it that he felt compelled to stop singing for more than a decade.
I read on a newspaper where he went and married somewhere down the island. And the woman, in fact, who he married to, Muksang, told the press that she had married the doctor a year ago. Nobody knew of it. And they wasn't living together. You couldn't find how they get along when the wedding took place. But the certificate of the wedding printed on the papers. So I in turn said, at least a good number. And I made a song on it. That I read it and I don't believe it, and they got to prove it. And I said, well, a man of such high moral integrity will not going down and married secretly in the island. And of course, I can afford to gamble my life. He's not the type of man that would marry and the next day disown his wife. You understand? And I said, well, I don't know what time these people does meet. Of course, he lives at Woodbrook and she lives at Frederick Street. And what night these people meet, you see. And then I was a member of the PNM party. Of course, that's what I said, and it was very unfair to me that this wedding has taken place and I didn't get a piece of cake or something like that. A kind of satire it came up to. Well, and at that time he was a kind of messiah to the people and they didn't want to hear anything. But of course I get applause for it and so forth, but then I get comment, and then a lot of talk was going on and political pressure began to be, and I said it's best to call it a quit.
You start to curse, you start to abuse. Better word from you now cannot be used. The people here there from far and near, and something good they would like to hear. Why don't you display some intelligence? To me like you grew up in ignorance. Is this a proper inspiration for the younger generation? Sunday morning day. Crying in the wilderness all the while, are trying to stop their style, to take a mate for the gravel artistry, to show their class and integrity. Maintain your standard from years ago when you are composing your calypso while your music is great. You can't relate, it will meet a terrible fate.
For generations, Calypsonians had been attacked by those in powerful positions in the upper echelon of society, who feared the candor and the boldness of the artists. Great-Grandma Tambi said that in the 40s, Attila the Hun was the first Calypsonian elected to a political position as a result of a musical campaign. But respect for his profession as an artist, musician, was far from being a widespread reality. Rocky McCollin says,
could you imagine in those days a Calypsonian sitting in the House of Parliament? In those days a Calypsonian carried a certain amount of stigma. I could remember as a young fella growing up and a little boy, certain restaurants in Port of Spain had signs, no dogs and Calypsonian allowed. Yeah, that's a fact. They never had respect for the Calypsonian as an artist. But in the advent of Sparrow in the 56, I think he brought a great amount of respectability. And in the advent of the PNM government under Dr. Williams, they pay a great amount of respect to the Calypso and the Calypsonian art form.
But despite the growing popularity of the Calypsonians and the changing attitudes towards them, the mid-50s represented a difficult time for Calypsonians. Money just wasn't easy to come by from their art. Brother Superior, through the years, had been concerned about this plight of his fellow Calypsonians.
Well, in '54 I was very excited about Calypso. I came in with all kinds of dreams and everything, but I had some unpleasant surprises. And what shocked me most of all is the economic situation of Calypsonians. From then, and looking at it closely, it isn't much better today.
The Right and the Honorable Dr. Eric William Pan and Kaiso is in trouble. Get me out of this jam. It's 8 years now I'm trying to get a broadcast license from you to help out the culture, but nothing yet. What must I do? As a born and bred Trinidadian, get me out of this bind. All I'm asking is a token, a piece of your time. Doctor, if you name the time and if you tell me where, your humble servant superior will be there. Hear what I want, Doc. I'm seeking permission to make my contribution to the indigenous cultures we got in this land. Talking about Kaiso and Pan, local Indian composition, and everything that evolved in this land. Like Parang, Doc, we need we own radio station for local culture promotion. We must stop the cultural assassination. Dr. lend a hand as to stop the cultural assassination.
Like in '56, when Sparrow won the crown, we were pretty close in those days, and he got something like $40 or $50, if I remember correctly, for winning the crown. And the Carnival Queen, who just shot across the stage, she got all kinds of gifts and prizes and trips abroad and things like that. So I had a song about it.
I came in the Calypso business 27 years ago. Back then was the same stupidness with airplay for Calypso. Those were the colonial days when the white massa was still here. His behavior never had me amazed. I know massa never cared. But now that we are a nation, Doc, for which you have fought, why allow the radio station to perpetuate massa thought? Well, if we change the white slave master for one of we own, the least you should do is show cultural concern. Hear what I want, I'm seeking permission to make my contribution to the indigenous cultures we got in this land. Talking about Kaiso and Pan, local Indian composition, and everything that evolved in this land. Like Parang, Doc, we need we own radio station for local culture promotion. We must stop the cultural assassination. Dr. lend a hand as to stop the cultural assassination.
Just as Calypsonians were struggling for independence, so was Trinidad and Tobago. As the Williams government moved from under the shadow of British administrators, the young government saw the need for Trinidadians to adopt several controversial measures, and running true to form, the mighty Sparrow sang about them.
Policemen mad, mad, I saw the wild here in Trinidad. Policemen mad, mad, well they're wild here in Trinidad. The government raised on the salary. Still they're unhappy with this raise. People know they get. They don't want to pay their debts. They used to get a shilling here, collect a shilling there. Now all that stuff. If they only say they broke, people say they making joke. They pay gone now. I hear the whole force in misery. No more loans and credit you see. I hear they're planning to lock up Lee for raising their salary. Anytime you see the lock up lease for raising their salary. In the police canteen, they used to walk in just full of their bosom, with all kind of food stuff, all kind of rum. Since this raising salary gone around, the canteen closed down, so when you check it together on your way to score, well, the suffering was than before. They used to get a shilling here, collect a shilling there.
No one like that.
Oh, if they only say they broke, people say they're making joke.
They take on.
Oh, the whole force in misery. No one loans and credit, you see. They're planning to lock up Lee for raising their salary.
Anytime you see.
They lock up Lee is for raising their salary.
At that time, he has been accused of being the mouthpiece of the People's National Movement, or of Dr. Eric Williams, specifically. And when you take a Calypso song as Pay As You Earn, the doctors say Pay As You Earn, and at that time, even if you are an ordinary Trinidadian citizen, and you never thought about Pay As You Earn as a way of collecting income tax, when that Sparrow Calypso came out, it became not just something you sing, it became something you think about.
It's a shame, but we how we sell to blame. It's a shame, we how we sell to blame. We ask for new government, now they're taking every cent. Cost of living is the same. It is really a burning shame. The doctor said to pay as you earn. Sparrow say you paying to learn, but my father say sharpening the axe for when the collector passed to chip off the income tax. Is in misery, but it's taxing bothering me. Well, I am not working anywhere, so I have no income to share. But Mr. This and Mr. That, who are custom of the payroll fat, is to see them shedding tears, men like the Freitas and Fernandez. The doctor say to pay as you earn. Sparrow say you pay to learn. And my father say you sharpen the axe for when the collector passed to cut down income tax. I hear they have a new campaign, cleaning for a Spain. I know they should really clean up town, but they start so wrong. They only put a few dustbin on them lampposts to collect fruit skin. But if they don't want no rubbish inside, see me and I think I'll put them right. They should hold Marabunda Jean and then hold Piggy Head Eileen and then hold Stinking Mouth Doreen if they want to keep the city clean.
Also, there was a time when they were doing Keep the City Clean, the city of Port-of-Spain. And Sparrow's idea of keeping the city clean was not picking up mango skins and orange peelings and banana peelings and things like that. Sparrow used that song to send another message to society. At the time when they were busy cleaning up the cities and sweeping the streets, there was an epidemic of prostitutes in Port-of-Spain. And what Sparrow did was to make a song, Keep the City Clean. He said, okay, you can sweep the streets, pick up the peelings and the skins as you want, but then there are some other things you should clean up in the city. And of course, he took out his personal vendetta against some of the prostitutes, and he named them by names. And you know what happened? They quit the streets because the Calypso has been made about them. And for a while, the Port-of-Spain, for any reason one may say, was, rid of some elements of the oldest professional in the world.
They're making so much fuss and ting. about mango skin, old onion and rotten potato, but like they don't know, some of them girls they having tongue, sweaty going wrong. I would rather eat a rotten ham than to smell up underneath some of them ham. They should hold Marabunda Jean and then hold Picky Head Eileen and then hold Stinging Doreen if they want to keep the city clean.
Author and writer Keith Warner says,
you're coming out towards after 56, the next milestone is Federation. And Trinidad was in there, Eric Williams was a pro-Federation person. And when the Federation broke up, of course, Williams did his famous 1 from 10 leaves 0, and he came out. And obviously the Calypsonians were right in there, pointing out, well, the fact that we had come out. And the most notable Calypso, I would imagine, out of that was Sparrow's Federation.
To know why Jamaica run from the Federation. Well, they want to know why Jamaica run away from the Federation. Jamaica have a right to speak she mind. That is my opinion. And if you believe in democracy, you'll agree with me. But if they know they didn't want Federation, and they know they don't want to unite as one, independence was at the door. Why didn't they speak before? This is no time to say you are federating no more. Capital site, that nearly caused big fight. When Sir Grantley Adams took up his pose, that even made things worse. They ballin', we ain't want no Bajan premier. Trinidad can't be capital for here. So the grumbling went on and on to a big referendum. But if they know they didn't want federation, and they know they don't want to unite as one and only one, I said to tell the doctor you're not in favor. Don't behave like a blasted traitor. How the devil you mean you're federating no more? Again, I think it's a big shame. After so much efforts and energy put by everybody, right now it's only a memory. We failed miserably. Some may say we shouldn't help part it, but it's Jamaica will start it. If they know they didn't want federation, and they know they don't want to unite as one, just tell the doctor you're not in favor. Don't behave like a blasted traitor. This is no time to say you are federating no more. Whoa, whoa, la da dee dee la, la da dee dee la. Simply this is dog-eat-dog and survival of the fittest. Everybody fighting for independence, singularly Trinidad for instance. We gon' get it too, so don't bother. But I find we should all be together, not separated as we are because of Jamaica. If they
know they didn't want federation. And they know they don't want to unite as one. Tell the doctor you're not in favor. Don't behave like a blasted traitor. How the devil you mean you are federating no more? Outside man.
Sparrow had one of his most successful moments when he made that Calypso Federation. And now, no matter what you as a historian, no matter what you as a politician, no matter what you think about how the Federation breaks down, Sparrow's version of how, why it was Jamaican who broke up the Federation is going to survive all of us. Okay, so, again, that's history, not telling us to change things, but telling us what happened. And also, you have to remember, Sparrow just didn't sit down and just write the lyrics. The basis of the lyrics were some of the things that were reported in the newspapers in the Caribbean region.
The attempt at a West Indian political federation failed, but the music was to be successful at pulling the string of island countries together. Now, with all this talk about Calypso and what was going on in Trinidad, you could think that nothing was happening anywhere else in the Caribbean. Quite to the contrary. The period from 1956 to 1962 was a most politically and culturally active period for the islands of the Caribbean. Both French and English-speaking countries were conscious of the new technologies and the growing interest in their music outside of the Caribbean. In Jamaica, as elsewhere, the recording industry was taking hold. Because Jamaican music was becoming readily available on discs, and because the discs were of better quality than ever before, the musicians saw a boom in public acceptance of their work. The Mentor sound was big. Everybody in Jamaica seemed to be listening and dancing to it, and to the sources that influenced it. Sources like American rhythm and blues.
Went bowling the other night. I started drinking on the gun real tight. I, including some other friends, I said, come on down and have a sip again. I said, hey, bartender. I said, hey, bartender. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 bottles of beer. A chick standing at the other end. I said, baby, can we be friends? You look kinky as a woman can be. Come on down and have a sip with me. I said, hey, bartender. I said, hey, bartender.
What made the music fairly accessible was the proximity of radio stations like station WINZ in Miami and the Armed Forces Radio in the Caribbean. But good R&B and Mentor records were not always so easy to come by. So a new type of entrepreneur, the song system man, became popular. The song systems were usually extensions of record shops whose owners would travel throughout the island with big speakers and a stack of new records, hot from New Orleans. My great-uncle Paul, who was living in Jamaica at the time, said he had never seen anything like it. At one point, competition among the song system operators became so intense that it threatened to be violent and bloody. But whether through the song system's men, the radio, or some other means, the music was flourishing. And a number of forces were coming together to make a new urban sound. Marjorie Wiley tells us again.
These started to be crystallized, I would say, in the 50s, the late 50s, into a form called ska, which was known elsewhere, I think in Britain, as the blue beat. And this was heavily influenced by boogie, people like Louis Jordan with G.I. Jive and that sort of thing. And what used to be the afterbeat that was played on the piano was taken up by these tight horn sections. So you got a walking bass and this cha-cha afterbeat being taken up by the horns. The indigenous feeling to that was not in the music but in the dance patterns which emerged from revivalism, from Zion and Pakumina revivalism.
I got a gal who's always late anytime we have a date, but I love her. Yes, I love her. I'm gonna walk right up to her gate and see if I can get it straight, 'cause I want her. I'm gonna ask her, is you is or is you ain't my baby? Way you acting lately makes me doubt. You's is still my baby, baby. Seems my flame in your heart's done gone out. A woman is a creature that has always been strange. Just when you're sure of one, you'll find she's gone and made a change. Is you is or is you ain't my baby? Maybe baby's found somebody new.
Good morning, Mother Cuba. How do you do? Me hear say you buy one new pair of shoes. Me hear say you buy one brand new hat. Mother Cuba, tell me how much you pay for that hat. Then a combine in a mess and tampi. Combine. I said combine in a mess and tampi. Combine. I said the higher the hill, the greener the grass. The younger the girl is the sweeter she kiss. I said combine in a mess and tampi. Combine. Then a combine in a mess and tampi. Combine.
Yes, Minto had turned into ska, and the instruments for playing popular music were changing. But change was happening in other areas too. With the urban expansion came all the traits of industrialization. Professionally trained blacks began to get government and political jobs, while the less well-educated were gradually excluded. The poor majority was being expelled from political activity, and they stood outside of the two-party structure of the country. Out of this, an alternative voice emerged, that of the Rastafarian movement. peace-loving Rastas in the 1950s were targets of government harassment because of their Back to Africa philosophy. But their music helped sustain them and at the same time informed others about the Rastafarian message. Brother Tony Lang explains.
Here the music becomes not just a cultural expression, it becomes a political expression, it becomes a religious theme, and it also becomes the chief means of survival.
Marjorie Wiley has studied the gradual progression towards reggae.
Later, one had a turning in on oneself and a certain rejection of the North American influence and began to feel the first stirrings of the Rastafarian wave with the emergence of a slower tempoed form called rocksteady. Where the guitar began to take up the afterbeat that was played on the horn section, and the tempo slowed down to release the bass line from driving the rhythm to take on a more melodic quality. And I find that this really is due to Rastafarian influence. If you have any experience of Rastafarian music, the tight rhythm is held by the funde drum, which is mirrored and paralleled exactly in the guitar strum. And the bass drum, although at times it drives the rhythm, from time to time it is released from that role, and the bass drummer improvises.
Better get ready, come to rocksteady. Yeah. You got to do this new dance. Hope you are ready. You've got to do it just like Uncle Freddie. If you don't know, just shake your head, rock your body line, shake your shoulders, everything in time, and sing. Oh, 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 oh.
Later, I think the Rastafarian influence became all pervasive, and one got the message music where the horns were dropped out, the guitar held on to its rhythmic role, the bass line was freed even further and sometimes dropped out completely, and the emphasis lay on the message that was being put across in song. Not so much in its melodic quality, but in its rhyming possibilities, and also in putting forward the Rastafarian philosophy.
If any word characterized Jamaica in the late 50s, it was change. Change in lifestyles, change in politics, change in cultural forms. The rural-centered became the urban-centered. The colonial rule became the independent, and the music reflected all of this. Where there had been formerly discarded wood and metal instruments used for folk music, there appeared slick European and North American instruments. Change could be felt throughout the Caribbean. I listened carefully to the music then, but little did I know that yet to come was the heyday of Jamaican music, and that 20 years later the eyes of the world would be on Jamaica and on reggae music. But at that time, what I did know was that my native calypso was changing too. However, I must admit that it didn't change so much then in regards to its lyrics about women.
If you look in the 50s and the 60s, women A to Z in calypso, every letter of the alphabet, I can tell you, I can give you a negative calypso about women.
Caroline and she mother, two disgraceful sinner. Oh, Caroline and she mother, two
disgraceful sinner. Every day she chasing Carol. The house ain't got food for tomorrow. Not a drop of rice in the place, and you only shaking your waist. Oh lad, when I was as young as Caroline, any man I come across is mine. I used to make them feel happy as long as they have money. When I was as young as Caroline.
Marjorie, I am tired of you. Cause you are not really true. For every time I walk down the strand, I can hear you were talking to some Yankee man.
I'm going to beat you.
He was a big Yankee man.
I'm going to beat you.
He was a tall Yankee man.
I'm going to beat you.
He was a rough Yankee man.
I'm going to beat you.
He was a tough Yankee man.
Gordon Roller again.
We have a lot of calypsos which deal with, say, the female theme, women in calypso, and even these are calypsos which deal with social commentary insofar as the changing attitudes to women in the calypso would reflect, I think, a number of fundamental changes which are taking place in the society. I feel, for example, that there are fewer calypsos which are sung about women, or at least fewer calypsos which are abusive towards women, and there used to be quite a few calypsos like this, with a definite anti-feminist trend in them. Quite similar to tendencies which have been there in some blues and some, things like the Dirty Dozens in America and so on. You had tendencies which were quite similar in the calypso.
She wanted to pet and Harvard, went and buy new pants. But when she reached home and start dressing, she husband tell she ain't going. Look here, girl Joanne, all yes mean stay home with your husband. She tell him, man, you must be mad. You can't stop me tonight, a bad. I must hear me boy Kitch at Harvard. Is that the Kunto Agumi blasting Kitch tunes with Harvard will be on heat. And I love Kitchener, his tunes that set me on fire. So if you stop me to do, I'm getting a divorce too.
Can you believe it? The musicians were concerning themselves with everything: pornography, eroticism, male-female relationships, cleanup campaigns, political scandals. And in the midst of all of this came one more change, which took the musical world in both Trinidad and Jamaica by storm: independence.
The whole population of our little nation is not a lot, but oh, what a mixture of races and culture, that's what we've got. Still no major indifference of race, color, religion, or finance. It's amazing to you, I'm sure, we didn't get independence before, which means Trinidad and Tobago will always live on. Colonialism born, our nation is born, everybody. We will follow our leaders. They always do their best. Oh yes, we want to achieve. We're going to aspire. We're bound to be a success.
The Calypsonians interpreted a variety of, probably not the feeling, but a variety of attitudes in the country, and they've done that throughout. I mean, once independence came, and you had the various programs coming up, whenever there was anything of interest, I mean, there's a Calypsonian to come out with something very popular. I mean, Sparrow again came up with things like, Mr. Robinson Unlocked Joint and that kind of calypso. And then too, you had the calypso as almost as village newspaper or people's newspaper, as Stalin calls it.
That was author Keith Warner. 1962 was the year. The Black Power movement in the United States was in its infancy stage, and both Jamaica and Trinidad, for the first time in their respective histories, were free and independent countries at last. Yet to come were the struggles to survive independence, the pain and the pride of new nations, and the music to reflect all of this. But that's another entire chapter in Caribbeana, History in Sound.
Calypso come from Trinidad, where the music really make you glad. Young and old will tap their feet when they hear the scintillating beat. Nowadays it's popular in Great Britain and America, but I think you ought to know it started in Trinidad many moons ago.
This is reggae music. Welcome to the sound. You need to look no further. The universe is found. Reggae music. Nunca acabé, capigué, nunca joué, nunca cagué. Un music show, un music too, music à nous, Calypso. C'est un mélange de tous les rythmes descendus. Dominique, Guadeloupe, Haïti. Tout le monde a retrouvé un sound jambolo. Là nous frapper mon gars danser. Là nous frapper mon gars sauter. Tous les orchestres à supporter. Gardez mon bruit d'exalméné. Météo. Obligé la paix.
Caribbeana, History in Sound. Program 3 was written by Judy Moore Smith and Patricia DeRubo. Technical production, John Blake. Special thanks to All Media Projects Limited Enterprises, Trinidad, Jimmy Maynard, Dr. Gordon Roller, Rocky McCollin, Dr. Godwin Oyewole, Dr. Keith Warner, Marjorie Wiley, School of Music, Jamaica, Tony Liang, Calypsonians The Growling Tiger and Brother Superior. Your executive producer and host is Von Martin. Caribbeana, History in Sound is a production of Third World International Communications Foundation Incorporated and is partially funded with a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts.
Là nous frappons mon gars danser. Là nous frappons mon gars sauter. Tous les orchestres à supporter.